Okay, perfect. So, welcome to the one of the webinars for MUN IO Tax training. In this session or webinar, we are going to discuss do's and don'ts of tax filing. Now, these are mainly oriented towards international students because we are trying to help international students in order to get their tax filing done in smooth manner. These are the basic and general do's and don'ts of tax filing oriented towards students. So there are more do's and don'ts for each student or each criteria, but we won't go into depth for that. And the information provided here is up to date till now, or I must say till April or March 2020. And if you have any specific questions or queries, please consult professionals before taking any final decision. This is just to make sure that if you have a complex situation which doesn't include the basic or general guidelines, and you need more in-depth guidelines in order to make sure you are filing tax correctly, then you should contact some professional in order to get the correct advice. Now, for most students that may not be required, but in case if you see that from the videos I've done previously as well as what I have currently, and if you see that you don't fall in the general or the ideological international students guideline, then you should ask me questions, and if I have the answers, I'll let you know. If I don't, then I'll tell you to contact the tax professionals. So moving forward, the do's and don'ts today, there are three, are divided into three criteria: before filing taxes, during filing taxes, and after filing taxes. Now, for those who have filed the taxes, I think before may not be relevant, but again, this is a good way to start, because what happens is students or people who are filing the taxes for the first time, they don't have any idea of what to do, and they just get into chaos of what do I need, how do I do this. So I'll start with what to be done before filing taxes, what to be taken care of during filing taxes, and what needs to be taken care after filing taxes. So before filing taxes, it is very, very important to get all your documents or tax slips as per your history in previous year. The reason why I say is get all your documents is because we don't remember exactly what we did. In the sense that you need to make sure if you work for more employers, you have those number of T4s, because each employer issues you a T4 separately, and if you donate it to some charity, that also counts. You need to make sure you have the charity receipts which you can claim for. If you had any medical expenses which you paid out of your pocket, you can also include those in your taxes. So it's very, very important to make sure that you get all your documents and tax slips ready before you file taxes or before you get started, because I've seen students who file their taxes and they come back with they forgot to add one T4, or they forgot to add their tuition fee. Tuition fee is the basics for students, but they in hurry and in chaos they tend to forget important documents, and that creates a lot of problem. So first thing is always make sure that you get all your documents ready. It's always best to get everything ready and then submit it, instead of submitting whatever you have. So make sure you don't leave or forget any documents or tax slips. Second very important thing is organize all the documents so nothing is left out. So if you have multiple T4s, make sure your T4s are in order according to the year. Meaning that, for example, if you're filing for 2018 and 2019, don't mix your T4s up for 2018 and 2019. Create a separate file for 2018 documents and create a separate file for 2019 documents. And in that, make sure all of your T4s are together, all of your medical expenses are together, because this is very important. If you means for example, if you add the information in wrong year, means if you add information of 2018 in 2019, it will mess up your entire tax return, and it will be very difficult for CRA to determine everything, as well as it will be very difficult for you to get all your refunds or your GST credit on time. It's very important to make sure that you organize all your documents accordingly, and make sure they are not in different orders, because you need to file the taxes in a smooth manner. This is very important for students, especially where they work part-time jobs in different places. Get your T4s from all your previous employers. It is very important if you worked multiple places and if you lived in different places. The reason why I'm saying is students are known to change accommodations, or they rent different places in different semesters, and they work different places. So what happens is when the T4 is issued at the year end, they may send it to your previous address, whereas you are not staying there now. So it's your duty to make sure wherever you work, you collect your T4s. The human resources or the employer is obliged to give you a copy of your T4 on request. So make sure you get all your T4s from wherever you work, because it's very important to include those in your tax return. Now, don't only include the T4s or the documents which you have on your hand, meaning that if you work three places and you have two documents or two T4s, just don't do your taxes with two T4s. Wait for the third one. Get all your documents in and then do your taxes. So this is generally, what to be done before filing taxes, making sure you have all your documents, they are organized and you're not missing anything. Now, during filing taxes, the do is use your current address as the mailing address. This is very, very important because this is a first step to multiple layer of steps, meaning that your current address, whatever address you submit on your tax return, will be used to send you notice of assessment if you didn't go for online notifications. It will also be used to send the MyCRA verification code, which is very important, and for future use they will send any communication, any letter to that address. So it's very important to use your current address as the mailing address. Do not use earlier residential addresses as your current address, meaning that if you had a different address last year, it's not required to match those address. If you had a different address when a study permit was issued to you or when a social insurance number was issued to you, it doesn't matter. You need to use your current address when you file your tax return, because you need to provide them the current address where you are staying so that they can mail you the documents as and when required. Now, if possible, use the name provided on your SIN number or study permit when filing taxes. It is very important if you have long names, because in certain countries back home, you have long names which includes 4 or 5 different names, and that sometimes makes it difficult for the tax return to go through online. So it's very important for you to make sure that you use the name which was printed on your social insurance number or study permit in order to match the database which the government has. And also, do not use your nicknames or any other names when filing taxes, because it won't allow the taxes to go through. The tax return online is only transmitted if three things matches. First one is your name, which is very important. Second is your social insurance number. And third is your date of birth. These three things are very vital in making sure your online transmission goes through. So use date of birth as listed on your study permit immigration document. Now, for most cases, date of birth is the same for 95% students. But in some cases, I have seen that there is a date change or there is a different date of birth, but the document says different date of birth. So in that case, you will need to use the date which is on your study permit or immigration document in order to match the data in their database. Now, province of residence is where you are situated on December 31st of that year, meaning that the provincial tax rates are calculated based on where you are on December 31st. So in general case, it would be the place where you have stayed the entire year. But I've had students asking questions, what if I was out for a recreational visit or a family visit for, my December weekend getaway? Then you do not add that place where you're visiting. You add the province of residence where you will be coming back or where you have stayed the entire year. You just need to make sure that you are adding the correct province. Now, if you moved somewhere permanently, for example, your studies got finished in September, and if you moved to a different province, maybe Alberta, Manitoba, or Ontario, and you started staying there, Then on December 31st, you will write your province of residence as Ontario and not Newfoundland. So in general sense, province of residence is where you stayed the entire year and where you're going to stay afterwards. If you moved somewhere, then you write that province of residence on December 31st. And if you moved after December 31st, for example, a student moved somewhere in Ontario on January 2nd, then on December 31st, being a Newfoundland and Labrador student previously, you will be considered as a resident of Newfoundland and Labrador. So again, this is very important to match it because all your provincial rates, tax rates are calculated based on province of residence. Then third most important is register for email notifications. Now I tend to advise this for each student or each client I help. The reason why I say is because this is much more faster to access all your documents. And once your taxes are filed, they'll send you an email notification that your tax return has been processed and your notice of assessment is available. Now, if you don't do that, what will happen is they will send it by normal post or mail. Now that is very time consuming and not reliable, meaning that they'll issue it and you'll get it within 2 or 3 weeks. And what happens if you moved place? If you went to another location or if you change your residence, you will never get your mail. So that's why I tell all my clients, if possible, register for email notifications because you will be able to use it more conveniently and it will be very good for you. Same goes for registering for auto deposit. Now, this is very important, especially for students to receive the GST HST credit directly into the bank account. Now, if you register for your auto deposit, I believe UFile as well as Simple Tax as well as other softwares, they provide an option to send the auto deposit information when you submit your taxes. Now, what this does is basically this transmits the same information with your tax return and it helps you to get your tax refund very quickly directly into your bank account. And this doesn't, it's not time consuming and is reliable way. Now, if you go with the normal routine method, which is followed by, many years, they'll send you the checks. Now there's no guarantee that you will receive it in time, or if it is, even if you receive it, sometimes students have had trouble, they never get their checks. So it's very important to make sure that you register for auto deposit. These two are sort of user friendly things for all of us to go forward with, because if you plan to stay in Canada, you will be using this and this makes your work very easier. Registering for auto deposit is same as you do with your employer. You just submit the form and your pay gets deposited in your bank. So it's hassle free thing. So these are the two most important things which you should do. Now the most important thing is when you are trying new softwares, make sure you only use one tax software to file your tax return. Meaning that if you're using, no, you can try whatever software you want. You can use Simple Tax, you can use UFile, you can use other softwares. But when you go to submit your tax return, use only one software. Now, the reason I say is if you use multiple softwares, chances are you will mess up the tax return and you won't remember which information you included in which software. So, as a rule, I would recommend to you that use UFile software. It is a good software and it is known to transmit information accurately. And plus, it has been used by volunteers like me with CVITP program associated with CRA. So, choice is yours. You can use whichever software you find easy or user friendly. We at Internationalization Office use UFile. So only use one tax for the single year. Now you can change your tax software if you want for the next year, meaning that if today in 2018 you use simple tax, but in 2019 you can use UFile. That doesn't matter. But make sure you only use one software for one single year. Do not attempt submitting tax returns from multiple software. It's not recommended in any way. Now, some questions I get is that once I submitted my tax return, what should I do? Are you supposed to mail the tax return PDFs? No. If your tax return went through when you were filing it online, then you're not supposed to send any documents in because it's not required. Once you get the code that it says it's accepted online, you don't need to mail your tax PDF. You can still download the PDF from your software and save it for your purposes, but you don't need to send it in. You only need to mail the document or PDF when the tax return doesn't go through online. So if it says the tax return was rejected or if there was any error, then you need to send it through normal post or normal mail. And in that case, send me an email and I'll let you know which address you need to send the tax return. And you can download your PDF through your software directly. It's just that, once you try to submit your tax return, and if it doesn't go through, the PDF will be available in some softwares. In some software, PDF is available before that. So either way, the PDF are available in all softwares which you try. It's just that some of them are available once the online return is rejected. But anyways, if you have any questions, send me an email and I'll respond to it. I have a question. What software should we use? I would recommend using UFile, and we have the videos uploaded on the YouTube channel regarding how to register for UFile and how to use UFile. So it's a walk step by step process, and you can see it. Can you type the name of software into the chat? Sure. I'll type the link so it's much more easier. Yeah. Okay. So moving forward, anyone has any questions? I'm not sure. It looks like okay. If you have any questions, feel free to send me in chat or feel free to interrupt in between. Uh, I'll send you the link. It's Internationalization Office Memorial University. It's a long name, but I'll send you the link. Once I finish this, I'll send you an email, and in that email, I'll send you. Some people use simple text. Yes, I myself have used simple text. It's good. It's good to use, and it's a good software. But the only thing is that simple text doesn't prompt you with questions, whereas UFile prompts you with question. So what happens is that simple text, if you miss something, you miss it. It won't prompt you. Whereas UFile will prompt you if you're missing any information. So it's your choice. Both work in the same manner. They both are excellent software to use, and both of them are free for use. So you can use the software. I won't say which one you should use, but we recommend UFile.
我怎么去掉头像？
Hello. Okay, no worries. Okay, so I'll continue with the further text filing queries. Okay. Now, do's, if you have any spouse, dependent, or file, you should uh, you should file the taxes together. Meaning that don't file separate taxes if possible. In most cases, what happens is you can use tax credits or you can use the credits for your dependent together. So it is very important if you have any spouse, dependent, make sure you file the taxes together. Do not file it separately because then it complicates the tax situation. And when you're filling the boxes in the text form, make sure that you go in numerically increasing order. So if you don't know what this means is, I'll send you the link for the YouTube 5 video where I show step by step, how to add information from your T4 to your tax return. In that sense, meaning that you numerically increase the order of number of boxes, and that's how you add the information. Do not randomly fill the information, otherwise you will miss some boxes and that will create errors. So always make sure when you're adding information, you add it in uniform manner. For me, numerically it works. For you, it may be a different method, but just make sure you don't miss anything or you don't omit anything or you don't add anything in wrong boxes. uh, Now, what to do after filing taxes? Now, students generally are known not to keep anything on hand, so this is very important. Keep all your documents, tax slips for at least 7 years. They say 6 years, I would say 7 years. Do not discard them. Now you must be wondering why I'm saying that, because I'll give you my personal example. Now, when I was a student, I had different, tuition fees and stuff. And once I stopped, once I finished my studies and I started working, I had some tuition credits accumulated. And when I wanted to use that, I got a letter from CRA asking me to show the proof of tuition fee, which I paid maybe 4 or 5 years before. So it was good that I had that saved, meaning that right now everything is available online. But before 4 or 5 years, we had a printed copy. So they did ask me for the proof of tuition fee, which I paid 5 years before. So they will come back and they will ask you for any random thing whenever they want. The only thing is that you need to have the documents ready in order to provide them whenever they ask for it. And always remember, they will never call you for that. They will send you a letter at your current address and they will ask you for sending the documents back by mail or by regular post. They do not communicate by email or by call by themselves. If we call them, that's a different thing. So just to go back, make sure all your documents and tax slips, you keep them saved for at least 7 years. Make a different folder and save it for yourself because you never know. They may come back asking for it and you may get, worried that, who is this asking for a question for, something which happened 5 years behind previously. So make sure you have all your documents ready and it will be very helpful. Now, only mail the tax return if your return has not been accepted online. Do not send any tax slips like, T4s or T2202A or any other forms to them because they are basically going to shred it if you just send it to them because it's of no use to them. You only send it if your tax return has not gone through and you send the entire PDF to them, and that's how they will process your tax return. If your tax return was accepted online, there is no need to send your tax PDF or any tax slips to them because it's not required. Now, this is a question. Now, the third form which I'm saying is RC151 form, which is for GST HST quarterly benefit. Now, this is a gray area for a newcomers, meaning that some newcomers get it, some newcomers need to fill out this form. So, what I suggest all newcomers and students is to do is check your U file or simple text or whatever software you have, check the PDF. Did it calculate the GST HST quarterly benefit? If it did, then you don't need to fill out this form. But if it didn't, then you need to fill out this form and send it to CRA because this form is used to calculate the GST HST quarterly benefit on how to get quarterly payments from Canada government. Now, if you are mailing your tax return, meaning that if you are printing and if you are sending it, then I would recommend you to attach RC151 form because you're already mailing your entire return. It's good to attach one more form. Now, simple text sometimes doesn't transmit GST HST from my experience because I've seen few errors happening. But U file, if you click the GST HST box, then it does send it. So that is one of the reason why I prefer U file because it has less errors and I've seen very few errors to other students as well. So, and if you don't know where to tick mark GST HST in U file, then you can check the video again on the YouTube channel. It's video 5 and you will see in the later description. Now, don't hurry once you file your taxes. Please do not hurry. Wait at least a month or two for CRA to process tax return for first-time filers. The reason why I'm saying is whenever a newcomer sends their income tax return, CRA is starting to develop a database of your information, making sure that everything is added correctly. Before your taxes are done, CRA has very limited information. So once you send your tax return, they will generate an overall profile for you, and that takes around 1 month or two. And considering the current situation, COVID-19, it may take much more time. But at least wait a month or two for CRA to process your tax return once you file it. Do not call CRA before your tax return is processed because calling CRA won't help you proceed in any other way. It will just, waste your time as well as CRA's time because they don't have any information of yours. Wait a month And once your tax return is processed, the important thing here, if you remember in early presentation in this one, I told that it's important to register through email. Once CRA processes your tax return, you will get an email notification that your notice of assessment is ready. So that's why it's very important to register for it, because as soon as your income tax refund or income tax is processed, you will get a notification, and then you can call CRA if you have any questions. Now register for my CRA account once CRA has processed your tax return. Again, the same reason as the earlier one. My CRA account is again your profile, which is built on your first tax return. So if you try to register for my CRA before your tax return has processed, you will see any error, or you won't be able to access it, or you won't be able to go forward after a few steps. The reason is because CRA doesn't have an overall profile of yours. So it's very important to make sure that you do not try to register before your income tax is processed. Now, this is for first time filers. Now, if you already filed for last year, meaning if you filed for 2018, then you can register for my CRA. It doesn't matter. But if you are first time filers, you need to wait till CRA processes your tax return. Don't hurry up. Everything will be taken care of. It's just that they need to make sure that they are giving correct information to you guys. So they only open up my CRA account once they have processed your tax return. Now, the other reason why I said is it's important to have the mailing address correctly mentioned, because once you try to register for my CRA, they are going to send you an access code to your residential address. So you'll get a code by mail, and once you enter that code into your registration, you will be able to get full access. So this is the reason why it's very important to have your current address on the file. And main last thing is, remember your username and password for tax software. The reason why I say is because once you use it, you'll forget it, and then you will remember it, or you will need to use it next year, meaning that there'll be 1 year lag in when you use it, and you won't even remember whether you used UFile or Simple Tax or any other software. So it is always a good idea to write down your username, password, and what tax software used in a secure location, so when the time comes, you can reuse it. And the reason why I say is, if you use the same tax software years and years, it will carry forward your previous year information, meaning that if you use a software this year in 2019, and if you use the same software in 2020, what happens is it will carry over the basic details like your name, your residential address, your numbers, date of birth, social insurance number, everything for the next year, and you won't need to fill many boxes. So it's always a good idea to save your username and password, and you can use the same tax software for years to go. And do not share your tax documents or tax file with your friends and colleagues, as this is all confidential information. You may be tempted to discuss your tax scenario with someone. You can discuss it without providing details, because each person has a different tax situation, and you don't know, if someone is working part-time somewhere else, or someone has a scholarship extra, or someone, so it's always good to make sure that you don't share your tax documents or tax files unless and until required, and unless and you need to, because everything is confidential, and it has your SIN number as well as your address and where you worked and how much money you made. So it's very important to keep it all in safe location and keep it confidential. So this was all for do's and don'ts. Again, this is general do's and don'ts, meaning basic do's and don'ts for filing your taxes. All information up to March, April, as per my knowledge, as per what I can find at CRA. And we generally use UFile. It's good to use UFile. They have online support mechanism if you are not able to register for UFile, and they can help you out. And as I said before few minutes, remember each situation is different and will require tax filing according to their personal situation. So if you get more refund than your friend, probably is that you made some more money or you had some other criteria, and vice versa is the same thing. So it's better not to discuss or share personal tax situation because it's confidential. More webinars will be available as planned, and the schedule will be sent out through social media from Facebook as well as Twitter, I guess. and one-on-one meeting available to help if you are stuck somewhere or if you need any personal help. So this is all for today's webinar, and